My two competitors, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, I'm not going to outspend those people. We have to out-innovate them.
Every organisation becomes bureaucratic after a while.
This country thinks it's a rich country, and we're not. The cones are the symbol for the waste.
Head of the university saying this was anti-mining. Why do you think these are going to be made out of carrots?
You learn more building something in your backyard, really, sitting in on a degree.
Peter, I can't believe I'm so lucky to be here. This is so exciting to me. I just love positive things. I love being around clever people. Someone analysed Auckland last year and they had all the good things about it, and it was average out here, and we're below average here, and it was innovation. And I'm thinking, we've got some innovators here, you're an innovator, and I want to use the position, the power of my position, not just to keep rates down, but to actually fix that lack of innovation thing in Auckland. How best can I help that happen, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on kind of the circles you travel in, I guess, because, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs within Auckland here. There's a lot of really cool companies and really cool stuff. The best you could do is just promote it. I think you can't force, No,
I don't want to force it.
But if you just make it a thing, and sometimes if you just talk about something enough, it becomes true.
Yeah, well, I thought that might be the best thing for me, and then try and kill off sort of dumb stuff with like hearing a head of the university saying this was anti-mining. I think, why do you think these are going to be made out of carrots or something? If you've got any ideas, any hesitation, and don't hesitate to ring me and say, help here. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to be an engineer as a mayor, and an engineer as a mayor is a pretty rare thing.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, actually. But the unique thing about an engineer is that you start with the end, the solution first. Like if you're going to go and put water into a subdivision or something, the first thing you do is you get a set of requirements and you understand what the pressure and the flow needs to be at that particular endpoint. Then you size the pipe, and then you buy the pump and whatnot. So you start off with the end requirements and you kind of work backwards.
So number one is identify the problem you're going to fix. And if you can't identify the problem, stop doing anything.
Yeah.
You won't do anything. Is there anything you'd like to say to Aucklanders and New Zealanders to a second extent? Well, there's a third in New Zealand, 40% of its GDP here anyhow, but about the space industry that they should know that would impact and help you and us.
I think most New Zealanders, don't realise how large the space industry is in New Zealand. I've
been shocked and I've been exposed to it.
Yeah. I mean, we are the Little Mahia Peninsula is the third most frequently launched launch site in the world right now. So it goes America, it goes Elon, China, and then Mahia, then Russia, then Europe. So, there's a tremendous amount goes on here. And I think the other misconception is that everyone thinks you have to be a rocket scientist to work here. And it's not true. You have to be the best at what you do, no argument. But,
Some of those guys are clever fitters, really, aren't they?
Exactly, yeah. So whether you're a fitter or a technician or a composite technician, as long as you're the best at what you do, then...
Everybody here, I imagine, learns every day.
Well, I mean, we're always pushing the boundaries, right? We're always innovating.
And never stop.
Well, that we can't. So my two competitors in this industry are Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. So I'm not going to outspend those people. We have to out-innovate them. That's the only way that we can be successful. And that's why we've been successful to date. So, we can't stand still. And this is an industry, it's like the semiconductor industry when it first started. There's so much innovation. The pace of change is so help. So if you stand still, you just get run over. You have to be on the steamroller, not in front of the steamroller.
Did our lack of legacy infrastructure help or hinder you? I don't know.
Well, there was no space industry, so there was no infrastructure. And we just had to build it. Yeah, so we just had to build it. Now, we built the only and first private orbital launch site in the world. All the other launch sites were all government ranges and government, infrastructures. And typically, it does take a government to do those things because they're very difficult to do in a financially viable way. But when you strip out all of the nonsense, then you can in fact do it. But we're very unique in the fact that most of our competitors launch from Cape Canaveral. We launch from our own launch site.
And every organisation, whether it's public or private, becomes bureaucratic after a while.
They do.
And NASA became hopelessly bureaucratic, and you worked it out. But even I'd non-partisan to it.
Well, quite frankly, I mean, I spend a lot of my time making sure that it doesn't happen, maintaining the culture, because to your point, like as a company grows especially, the natural thing to do, unless it's unchecked, is you do build bureaucracy. So, we've got a bunch of rules here that you can't add another law or add another rule unless you take one away.
Oh, bingo.
So
I passed that at the council too.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to university as an engineer back in the days when it was much more kind of practical. You couldn't get an engineering degree without being able to weld or run a lathe. And now they become box tickets in my view, and I'm not mad about them. And I'm thinking, man, maybe am I the only person like that? I know the guy Zeno, that Russian guy, who's quite a nice guy. He doesn't like the ones he gets either. And do you find that you have that kind of unfree thing? I like first principle thinking.
Yeah. So in Rocket Lab, we worked it out recently. Actually, it's twice as easy to get into Harvard than it is to get into Rocket Lab. So the engineers that we get here are the cream of the crop. They're very, very practical, thinkers. And you don't get a job here by having multiple PhDs and being top of the class. Actually, you get a job here we ask, what do you do outside university? What have you done outside, your education? Because that's the thing that actually we're most interested in. If you go to university and you get great grades and all the rest of it, and you present your CV to me, and then someone else presents as a CV to me that has got not as good a grades, but actually has gone out and built stuff, actually made stuff happen. That other person will get the job every time.
Because they've shown the initial initiative to do mad stuff on their own.
Yeah.
Love that. I started Brown and Thompson Consulting Engineers, and it was in the days when it was a bit more first principles approach to things.
Well, I think there should be a strong focus on first principles. I think you're right. I would encourage entrepreneurialism. Like if you want to kill two birds with one stone, encourage entrepreneurialism. And but most importantly, just encourage anybody who wants an engineering, get in the engineering field. It's like do engineering outside your coursework. Like the true, really good engineers are engineers who engineer all day, all night. They're very, very passionate about that. And you learn more probably from building something in your backyard than you will necessarily sitting in on a degree.
So what's missing? The entrepreneurial bit.
I think the entrepreneurial bit, but it's there. But I think it could be promoted.
They're going to reframe risk somehow or other too.
Well, so the biggest difference, my wife's a mechanical engineer, and she talks about it often because she's actually gone back to university to do an arts degree. So she always wanted to do the arts, but of course it's very hard to put food on the table with an arts degree. When she was going through engineering school, like all-nighters and just working crazy hours, and it was just really, really tough. And, I think we've got to a place, at least at some universities, if it gets a bit tough, you just say it's a bit tough and everyone goes, okay. But the reality is you're not doing anybody a favour because they come into the real world and it's a bit tough. That's just life.
I can go with that. Government's kind of like look to shell out cash for winners. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about how that whole side of things goes? Should they be there? Or where should help come?
It's so yes and no. So if you have suitably qualified business and entrepreneurial people making the decisions, then yes. But if not, then it becomes a little bit more oblique. The reality is that Rocket Lab received government funding when we first started. And, I was working for industrial research at the time, and I actually helped a lot of companies get government funding. And then when I started Rocket Lab, I was like, so I'm sure this is innovation, this technology, this will be fine. And, they took one look at it and said, it's a rocket, there's no way. And then, now, unfortunately for them, sometimes, no is just not the right answer, and just kept on escalating until ultimately, Wayne Matt, the minister, made the decision that yes, they would give a small amount of government funding to Rocket Lab. And if you look at the return on the investment, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's probably reflected in some of your views of that people in that sector. Yeah. I think sometimes government funding can be good or bad for innovation. I think you're right. What do we do for our kids? How do we kind of wake them up to the more engineering?
Yeah, well, what we do is we have a schools program, and we go around a whole bunch of schools, and we generally send staff out to do it. And I tell you that there is not a kid in the room that doesn't get inspired in some way. Like you can take the most glazed over, uninterested kid at the back of the room, hand them something that's been to space and back, and just watch their eyes sparkle. And this is something that, NASA realised very early on. Like NASA is 50% there for the science and research and 50% there to promote STEM, simply because of the missions and things that they do. So the space industries and the space agencies have a responsibility to kind of promote that.
But what I'm hoping is that you can, like that kid that you've glazed up there might suddenly think, man, I could make a new milking machine or something.
Exactly.
And that's good. I think we should all try and leave something, little thing of what we've done.
But it comes back to the entrepreneurial tick box, quite frankly. And just funny because New Zealanders are very, very entrepreneurial. Like, New Zealanders will give anything a go and you'll take more risk, or she'll take more risk and have a go. It's the whole, you don't get contractors in to remodel a bedroom. You just go down to Bunnings and sort it out yourself, right? Yeah. Whereas in the US, it's probably more likely to get a contractor in and stick in your own lane. So I think New Zealanders, which is ironic because New Zealand will take huge risk on technologies and huge risk on kind of initial businesses, but then kind of won't take the necessary the big risks and scale.
Oh, and despite what you've said about all risk and everything, we've ended up with the most ridiculously constraining traffic management system on the entire planet.
I've only started that traffic.
I fight those idiot cone industry things every day. They're bloody weak.
If you can actually get rid of 50% of the cones, it is ridiculous.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, I hate it, but what can we do about it? So I'm banging on about Auckland Transport, which I was set up.
Can't you just make a decree? And this is the end of it.
But I don't even have control of Auckland Transport because when the city was set up, it was set up stupidly by people who had read a book about management. And they felt, and so I will get control of it by the end of the year, in which case, but already I'm telling these people, you've got to stop it. And they're saying, we've got rules. So I commissioned a report, an independent report to write up what I know anyhow to be, is that the rules are set up to produce a lot of cones.
Yeah.
And so I go to the government, it's your stupid rules. And because no, somebody might die. I mean, if the government passed rules about your things, your rockets would never get off the ground because they had to be so thick there that they wouldn't rise.
Yeah, that's right.
And because that you're in 1.2. So.
But we're talking about cones right now. I'm still not finished with the cones.
I know the cones are ridiculous.
Because the cones are the symbol for the waste.
Oh,
they're
the
like
cones are the waste.
A beacon symbol for waste.
Oh,
I'll give you an example. So outside my house, the main line going to my house under the road, shorter to earth, set the power pole on fire. It was all big palaver and all the rest of it. That's all fine. They're disconnected, put the fire out, and then the next couple of days, they had all these cones leading up to the power pole. And I live in just an area there's a park on one side and there's one road left, one road right, and it's rural. There's probably 20 people a day use that intersection, me being one of them, so 19. I'll do it twice, so 18. There was a person with a stop-go sign on each one of those 3 intersections, even into this dead-end park with a stop-go sign.
Climbing outside my house this morning.
But they need to fix that because that
requires the government to do something.
Yeah, or someone needs to do something.
And I'm on their case. Actually, you've just made him more determined to go back and be really more of a shit.
But the thing is, those guys and girls holding those stop-go signs, but they were just absolutely at their wits' end and boredom. Like I come up the road and they were so excited they jumped up and grabbed their sign just so they could do something for the day. But that's not good for anybody's.
It's not good for anybody. And nor are they having to wear. They have to wear safety hats out there as if a seagull's going to shit on them and kill them. I don't get that either. And we don't. I question everything and.
You know the problem is this country thinks it's a rich country. And we're not.
That was a long time ago.
We are not a rich country.
No,
if you go to a poor country, the scaffolding is made out of bamboo. Rich countries can afford to do all these things. We can't afford to have a cone every 300 millimetres.
Well, somebody can because we've got the system here that rules happen and that's why I don't like box-ticking engineers. because they are justifying the silly thinking behind what's resulted in that box. And so maybe I can go back to changing the core thinking at the university. I'm going to tell them that. And I'm going to say...
I think you just have to blitz all these regulations.
Oh,
that's what needs to change. Because if there's no box to tick, then there's no box to tick. But when there's a box to tick, somebody's got to tick the box.
well, that's exactly right.
So we have a thing here called responsible engineers. So an engineer is responsible for a certain part on the rocket or a certain product or whatever. And the easy thing to do would be to create a whole lot of bureaucracy and make it nobody's problem and just have the bureaucracy responsible for that particular part.
Nobody is ever responsible in a bureaucracy.
That's right. But if you make the engineer the responsible engineer, they are responsible for that part. So that's good from two reasons. One, they know that if they screw up, then it's their fault. And two, if there's an issue or if there's a good thing, I know exactly who to go and see either way. Like if it's a great job, I can congratulate them. If there's an issue, then we can go and resolve it. So we need like responsible counsellors. Like every counsellor should be responsible for a thing and then held truly accountable.
Good luck with that. You clearly haven't been to a council meeting.
Well, that's why I never get involved in politics because it would do my head in.
I'm going to go back and tell the AT guys, because I wrote an article in the Sunday Star Times, no one's ever responsible.
Yeah.
They're these big things and they take so long. That's the other thing about 15 days from go to woe and there. The people who started are still here. The way that infrastructure is done in New Zealand, that sometimes it's 5 years since the first meeting, and the last people building it have no idea why it was built in the first place.
Yeah.
And I had one that I said to them, I said, I'm angry about this, everything's terrible. And they said, it was done in completely control with the consultation we had in 2015. I said, things have changed,
Yeah.
Back in 2015, we actually had an economy that wasn't bedevilled by debt.
Yep.
Last question is, what's your most disliked government department? For me, it's the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, the three things it's designed to prevent.
I mean, look, I'm just, any entrepreneur will tell you that the best thing a government could do is just go away.
Oh, good answer. Thank you very much. And I hope the council is the same too. Tell me to bugger off sometimes.
Well, no, I
didn't ask you how you feel about anything. It wasn't bad going.
No questions about feelings. It's good. I've got your present too, Wayne.
No?
Yeah. Can you grab the present for me? Yep. Especially for you. I had it signed written and everything.
You've got a wicked sense of humour as well. So have I.
It's got a Rocket Lab cone.
Rocket Labs. RL.
Just for you, just so you can remember. You put that in your office and you can remember what the task is.
That's pretty good. I shall attempt to find the person who I'm going to shove that up. I'm glad you feel bad about those things too. Boy, they annoy me.
Well, like I say, it's not the actual cone that annoys me, it's the symbolism of the cone.
The lack of thinking behind the cone is what I hate.
Yep.
Look, thank you very much for having me. I've loved being here every minute. I could just sit there and kind of smile and stare at those people and feel good about it. And it makes me feel good to know that there's clever people still here, very clever people here. I feel like a homeless man now.
Cool. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.